Juan Mendez Scott's Mystery Magazine.
A Sizzling Affair. Chapter 7. Just Tell My Son to Call Me. I pulled into one of the 3 garages of our 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom stone-bricked house, the engine of my Mercedes purring to a halt as the door clanged shut behind me. The cool, dark garage felt like a sanctuary, the silence wrapping around me like a comforting blanket after the exhausting day I'd had. But as soon as I stepped into the bright, spacious kitchen, the familiar chime of my cell phone shattered the peace. I glanced at the screen, and a wave of irritation washed over me when I saw who was calling. For a moment I considered hurling the phone against the wall, watching it shatter into 100 satisfying pieces, but I forced myself to answer it. "Hey, Mrs. Allen," I said, keeping my tone as neutral as possible. "Ginny," my mother-in-law's voice whined through the speaker, already grating on my nerves. That whiny, nasal tone of hers made my skin crawl every time. She had a knack for getting under my skin, and tonight was no exception. "I've been trying to reach Gary, but he's not answering his phone." "He might be in a meeting or something," I replied, kicking off my shoes and heading upstairs, the hardwood floors cool beneath my feet. The house was quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the air conditioning, but I could feel the tension building in my chest, an unwelcome guest I'd grown used to. There was a long pause on the other end of the line, the kind that made me grind my teeth in frustration. Mrs. Allen had a habit of drawing out silences, probably trying to think of something else to complain about, or more likely to find a new way to criticize me. Finally, she spoke. "I thought he was getting back in town tonight." "No, it's tomorrow sometime," I said, my patience wearing thin as I reached the top of the stairs. Another pause. The air felt thick with unspoken judgments. "So, how have you been, Mrs. Allen?" I asked, my voice clipped, hoping to steer the conversation away from whatever she was brewing in that judgmental mind of hers. More silence. I let out a sigh, already dreading where this was going. "He told me that you two are not doing so well, Genevieve," she finally said, her tone shifting to something that resembled concern, but felt more like a veiled accusation. Why on earth did Gary have to tell his nosy mother that? I had just finished dealing with Camille's prying questions, and now I had to endure my mother-in-law's meddling too. "Why would he tell you something like that?" I asked, my irritation seeping into my voice. "I don't know, you tell me," she snapped, raising her voice in a way that made me want to throw the phone across the room. Her tone always had that effect on me, sharp, condescending, like she was scolding a child. "He said you've stopped speaking to him." I rolled my eyes, the image of her sitting alone in that enormous mansion of hers, brooding over every little detail of our marriage, flashing in my mind. My mother-in-law was a retired lawyer with a bank account full of money left by my late father-in-law, and a sprawling estate in Woodmore, Maryland, where she lived alone, probably stewing in her own toxic attitude. To be straight with you, her whole demeanor reeked of something sour like rat poison. That I'm not speaking to him? Of course I speak to him. I mean, we have our quiet moments like any other married couple does. "He just said you don't have much to say to him," she persisted, and though I was in no mood for her relentless critiques, I couldn't argue with the truth in her words. My silence had been deliberate, a shield against the growing chasm between Gary and me, but I wasn't about to admit that to her. That's not what a good wife does. I clenched my jaw, my hand tightening around the phone. I didn't care if I was lying through my teeth. There was no way I was going to let her win this round. "I am a good wife." Mrs. Allen wasn't letting it go. "I know he works long hours and goes on all these business trips, but a good wife will hang in there with him. A good wife understands he's working hard for his family." I sighed, my eyes falling on the small orange bottle of high blood pressure pills I had taken from Camille's purse earlier. I rolled the bottle in my hand, the tiny pills inside rattling softly. I'll let him know you called, Mrs. Allen. Her tone softened, but it didn't lose its edge. I know you don't feel like hearing my mouth. Just tell my son to call me when he gets in tomorrow. I will. Bye.
On the next episode of Juan Mendez Scott's Mystery Magazine, Chapter 8, The Flickering Flames.